We live in a time where modern technology has been rapidly hastening our development in the civilized world as leading all other nations in regards to growth, both economic and real. Obviously, this is intended on making our planet Earth a better place to live, procreate, and expand our knowledge amongst ourselves as well as others. It has long been said that hope is located somewhere between faith and charity. No one is immune from anguish, tragedy, or adversity. Many opportunities arise from the pain we experience from the trials and tribulations we face along this journey we call life.
Alcohol and cocaine were involved in my life. At 28, I got a divorce from my husband. My addiction took over and I got introduced to prostitution by a drug dealer / pimp. I gave birth to another child at the age of 35, actually, and wasn't married to the guy. Had a very toxic relationship, a lot of domestic violence, a lot of substance abuse. At the age of 40, I became pregnant again, and that's when I gave birth to my youngest child. I was at that time in the sex industry and in the sex trade. And his father was actually John. When I refused to work at one time, I actually was beaten so badly that it wasn't valuable to the person.
There are those who have the need to implement a chronic and sadistic lifestyle against vulnerable individuals that only satisfies their sick and twisted interpretation of what they view as normal. But in truth, it is nothing short of pure psychological warfare on their victims, with a pathological intent to control their minions by threats, addiction, and abuse in order to chase the almighty dollar, enriching only their lives at the expense of others.
He was part of a community, a BDSM community. Within 6 months of us becoming a relationship, he had me completely trained as his submissive, and so we would enter into sexual games, so to speak. There was bondage, so there was a lot of equipment, handcuffs, shackles, chains. We began to attend what they call slave auctions, which is basically where these submissives, where I was in a cage waiting, and then when I would come up for auction, then I would be guided to the stage where I would be then presented. He had gained control very quickly, and I learned very quickly that I was not allowed to say anything of what was happening to me. And the reality is, I'm not sure my family would have mattered anyway, but I was in high school, attending classes. We met in my junior year, and then in my senior year, he switched up the game, and I was then being sold to other people, so it wasn't just him. And he introduced another person into the game, and she was a mistress, and she became my mistress, and I became her slave. And it just went from there. I would go to school and I'd be sold, and go to school and see clients.
We all yearn for the idealistic version of the all-American family we've all come to know as those who love this great country of ours, the United States of America.
I was living with my family, but I never really felt like I belonged there. Like I was a part of the family. There was always this distance, like I was on the outside looking in. And I just wasn't bonded with my siblings or my parents, either of them. Because of the relationships with, or the lack of relationship with my family, I was so desperate for any kind of positivity, any kind of attention that was positive, or attention at all. And so I craved it. I just had to have that attention. And a man from our church gave me exactly what I needed. all of that attention. He listened to me. He told me I was beautiful. He told me I was important, that I had value. And I never thought I had value. I never was really told that I had any value. So he was this amazing person that said he loved me. I was 16 and he was 25.
Victims of human trafficking, while globally commonplace, can appear in any community or location, hidden in plain sight. Plenty of truck stops, rest areas, travel centers, and gas stations near interstate highways. 24-hour stop and shops tend to see frequent use by human traffickers and their victims.
I was brutally raped and assaulted by a guy. I was able to help the police capture the guy. The DNA that man left in me matched the DNA in a murder victim from 2 years before.
There are many factors contributing to this menace: broken homes, single parenting, increased familial dysfunction, and longer hours of retail operation. In addition, public restrooms and ease of access escalate the likelihood that malls, parks, and convenience stores can actually help predators locate, predicate, and snag those who are vulnerable and sadly becoming victims of trafficking. With so many wars and conflicts across the globe, children's bodies are quickly becoming sites of violence, where rape is used to terrorize and degrade entire communities. This story is not meant to enhance nor diminish anyone's accomplishments, nor is it designed only to highlight tragedy, loss, and suffering. This story is meant to show that in the midst of the worst of circumstances, where most would just give up, wither away, and die, there are indeed those who've mustered all the courage and inner strength to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast those who believe it's their right to inflict their will on their unwitting captives.
Anybody that's trying to control you, that's trying to convince you that you owe them anything, you owe them nothing. Just because somebody buys you a gift or buys something, you don't owe them your life. And you don't have to sell your body or anything else to pay that back. And just because you made a mistake, in my case, we had taken pictures and I didn't realize that. And when I wanted to leave, he told me, he said, your family won't understand. And so there is no shame in just saying that something happened. Tell somebody, say something.
When I got released from jail, I met with my mentor. She took me to a women's Bible study and began taking me to church. That's when I met Christine Gilgee. Christine started showing me that I had some value, I had some worth, and started treating me as an equal with some love and care. I had never really experienced that from other women in my life.
Adorned in Grace started about 3 years ago because of Solutions Dental. Dr. Kevin Gilgee funded the build-out of Adorned in Grace. So it's so exciting to see Solutions Dental, as each patient gets involved, that they're actually joining us to combat human trafficking.
I was physically rescued after 4 year in that hell and spent a lifetime trying to bury it and battle monsters that I shouldn't have known in the first place. But God has shown me that I don't have to worry about the monsters because He's bigger than the monsters are. And it doesn't matter what I did. Adorned in Grace has given me a support system I didn't have, a way to link closer to God and other people. I'm not alone. I used to think I was alone, and but I'm not. And there's others like me, and there's others that were me. And I've always told people I'm not one in a million. I'm one of millions that will live this life and maybe be lucky enough to survive.
So where I came from with that brokenness and the worthlessness, the low self-esteem of never being good enough to that point of being able to help restore other women and help them find their value and worth in life is what I feel God did with me. He used my ashes, turned them into beauty, and allows me to help others find that also.
These are the future of our country. They are the heroes, along with the tremendous support of their capable mentors, gradually overcoming the stigma of sexual violence by designing and directing their own programming to address community needs. When will it stop? When enough people care that when they do see something, they say something.